Hey, how's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Tuesday. It is the Earthmaster here, May 7th, 2024. It's about 11:42 a.m. California time. Latest activity here on the Earthquake 3D globe shows a 3.6 earthquake well underneath the North Island area once again. That earthquake coming in about 312 kilometers deep, associated with the Hikurangi subduction zone there just off the east coast of North Island. All right, so let's take a look and see what's going on here overnight with earthquake activity. California lighting up slightly out here in the last couple hours. Got some movement kicking off here on the Calaveras Fault Zone. That's an extensional branch here off the San Andreas Fault that runs through the Bay Area, through various highly populated regions. That earthquake coming in as a 2.1 near Gilroy, and a handful of smaller quakes in that vicinity as well today. Southern California, about the same as what we've seen yesterday. Not a whole lot happening down here for now. 2.5 map and above. Does show one earthquake here near the Tehachapi area early this morning, a 2.7. That is on the White Wolf Fault Zone. Aside from that, fairly quiet conditions prevailing out here across the west coast into the Intermountain West regions. Idaho still seeing some movement up here, and also some activity stirring up once again in the Utah area. A few folks mentioned that this area, the Bluebell Study area, is associated with oil pumping operations and whatnot. But I did a little search here on it, and this map here, the USGS Publications map, brings up the Bluebell Study area is an oil-producing area in the basin there of northern Utah. But that's not the area that we're looking for. The area that we're looking for is just right up here, just north of the Great Salt Lake area right here. So I'm not for sure. I really can't find a whole lot of specific information on this area. Someone mentioned also the Skinwalker Ranch. Goodness, that is also in an area back over here around the Bluebell Field in this area. But specifically in this area right here where all that earthquake activity is occurring, I can't find a whole lot of information on it. If you have any links, folks, please leave them in the comments below. Obviously Utah has had, volcanic activity, and the hot spot from Yellowstone, I believe, covered through this area at one point, or maybe that was back over here. Either way, they definitely have had some, volcanic activity here in the past, distant past. But I'm not 100% certain this is associated with volcanic activity for now. I can't find a specific fault system that it's associated with. But we'll just kind of keep an eye on it because it's still sparking off some earthquakes here. A closer look, zoom in, closer look here does show, some type of road network out here, but it's hard to see what they're leading to. I don't really see any distinct oil fields out here. Now, I'm sure back over further to the east and southeast here, there's those oil fields there in Utah that have been coming up in the Google searches there when you look up the Bluebell fields. So we'll just continue to keep an eye on it here. Just a little odd. Got about 18 earthquakes here in the last 24 hours. Some of those today, quite a few from yesterday as well. So this is just an ongoing swarm of earthquake activity here, confined mainly to this region of again, just outside the Bluebell Study area off Highway 83. If I was a little bit closer and I had some extra time, I would head out there and see what's going on. I wasn't up this far in Utah, but I did take Highway 50 here during my trip here a week or so ago. But if I was closer, I'd definitely go check that out because that's very interesting. Most of these earthquakes are occurring between 3 and 6 kilometers, some a little bit shallower, but an average would show between 3 and 6. There's a couple that are deeper. So we will continue to watch it. and see what happens. As far as Yellowstone goes up north, pretty quiet. Just one little lonesome earthquake, 1.8. Let's check out the Yellowstone seismograph stations here on this Tuesday. Make sure everything's looking fine, which it is. I'm seeing a couple earthquakes out here. Looks like this morning near Little West Thumb. There's two back-to-back earthquakes right there. That movement did show up across other seismograph stations locally, so those are legit earthquakes. 2 or 3. USGS only showing 1 there for some reason. I'm not for sure why, but the other signal, the other signature of that secondary quake looks to be about the same. So we're going to be around a 1.8 magnitude for both of those quakes here. Just that's pretty. I mean, that's into the Yellowstone caldera here, which is in the black line west of Lake Yellowstone. But aside from that, no major swarming going on for now. All right, out and about across the rest of the states here. Anything major going on? Oil fields getting hit out here in Texas once again. Far as the eastern portion of the country, I think this earthquake here is from yesterday. Well, it looks like late last night, a little 1.7 coming into the New Jersey area once again. Bigger picture of things, still seeing some earthquake movement and adjustment taking place down here as expected. We had been witnessing quite a bit of earthquake activity on the northern edge here of the South Sandwich Trench. That has migrated to the south here, it looks like, including some movement more recently just off the subduction zone along the plate boundary here near the ridge, North Weddell Ridge area, it looks like. Quite a few fracture zones here in the oceanic crust, so quite a bit going on here. We'll continue to watch that. My guess is that we'll see further activity down here along the South Sandwich Trench. But overall, look, it's been quite active here in terms of the plate adjustment going on. Let's see, Middle America Trench, fairly normal. A lot of older quake activity there. South America region, only a handful of quakes there today. Fairly quiet in terms of the typical daily multitude of quakes. Some activity out in the Azores here in the Atlantic. Got some deeper activity here across the Mediterranean region. The 4.1 coming in fairly recent to the area. Nothing showing up here on the USGS map for this area for now. And it does look like we got some typical clustering going on here across the area of the Taiwan region southward. I want to double check, make sure I got the bells off. Yes, I do. Because there's nothing quite as annoying as hearing some bells go off, right? While someone's trying to talk. A lot of this activity, if you look on the map here, is from yesterday. The most recent quake shows a 5.1 here around the Philippines. But most of this activity, some older movement from yesterday. As far as newer quake movement goes, looks like Japan area starting to see some activity just south here. And a little bit of movement across the Aleutian Trench once again. This area definitely been somewhat heightened here in the last week or so. If we look at the last 7 days, there's been a little distinct swarm out here across this area of the Aleutian Trench. But overall, things appear to be still active across a broader scale here of the Aleutian Trench. And of course, we'll continue to keep that in mind because of that movement we've been seeing. Hawaii still looks like it's rocking and rolling out there. So let's go see what's going on here from the Kilauea Volcano status update. Someone was saying something about the cursor here being super duper small, and it does look like it's small on this end, or at least on the recording feature, but when I have it here on my screen, it's actually giant. So I'll see if I can adjust it a little bit more because I know that may be hard to see. But I'll see if I can figure out what's going on with that, because normally it will match the cursor on my end, but it's not. It's a really tiny cursor when it's up there on the my recording software. So I'll see if I can't fix that. Update. This was put out yesterday. No new update as of yet. They're still putting out daily updates. Still looking at earthquake activity here. Let's check out a seismograph station or two for the area. And I've been using this one right here. It does look like a decent seismograph station that's properly adjusted. And there's definitely a handful of earthquakes. Doesn't quite look as active as what we had seen here a couple days ago when we had that intense earthquake swarm, but still some movement, as you can see there, on the last 12 hours, so this hasn't calmed down. The deformation data was elevated yesterday. Today, about the same. Look at that. Here's the last 2 days of inflation. The last week of inflation at the summit still shows vertical upward lift, indicating magma pressurization below. So just we'll continue to watch it. That's about all we can do right now, and just provide updates when they become available. Let's see what else we have out here across the rest of the world. Iceland. Let's go check out Iceland here, because Iceland's got to be getting close to seeing another eruption aside from the one that's ongoing. Got too much inflation going on here underneath the area. Not a whole lot of earthquake activity. There's a small amount here in the last 12 hours. Some stretching down towards the Grindavik area as well. So let's go and check out live from Iceland, the site, for some cool webcam imagery. There's the main active crater. It definitely looks like it's a lot less today. They got this thing zoomed in pretty fairly close here. I know last night when we checked it, it did show a little bit of fountaining going on here. But I'm not seeing any specifically right now, but we'll continue to watch that. Either way, overall trend here underneath this area has been elevated in terms of the inflation going on subsurface region. Here is the latest update from Iceland. The magma accumulation and land rise continues in the Svartsengi area. So here they're discussing about the activity in the crater has decreased in recent days. The probability that the power of the eruption will increase of that, or that new fissures will open, continues to increase. So right now we may be seeing this die down. This is not a current imagery, but one when it was fountaining pretty nicely back in April. So you got to remember this whole area is rising in terms of inflation, and now we're looking at the eruption toning down here across this area. It looks like there's probably blockage going on below the surface. That could be, it's hard to say if that's going to maybe open further up and allow some more of this magma to go through that area that may be blocked down there and provide further eruption and more fountaining across this area, or we're just going to see a new region around the area show some fissure activity, opening up with eruptive fissure activity. Magma accumulation and land rise continues in Svartsengi. The speed has remained almost unchanged for the last few weeks. Seismic activity here, and see, and the little concerning thing is, though, because it's down here across Grindavik as well. So, you know, there's always that chance. So new fissures could open in the area between the Stora Sagafell and Hagafell, and or an existing fissure expands due to a sudden increase in lava flow that could be comparable to the initial phase of the last eruption in the area. It could happen with very little or no notice. It is also possible that magma flow from the magma chamber underneath the Svartsengi to the active crater will gradually increase until there is balance between the inflow of magma into the chamber and the outflow from there to the surface. But I'm not thinking that's going to be the case. That's basically kind of what I just explained here, how even though we're looking at a decreasing flow from the areas below to the surface, there's blockage going on down there, I believe. So that means that we could see an eruptive fissure activity take place somewhere away from that region. Signs of a new magma flow would be like before, very sudden series of small earthquakes in and around the magma tunnel, And, what we don't want to see is earthquake activity really kicking up underneath the Grindavik area. I still think there's possibility. I mean, we've seen that back in November, that magma intrusion that went underneath the northwest part of town, offshore, and all the way up here. So we know it's possible that we could see some further eruptive activity down here in this region. But this whole area is elevated in general. If we look at the let's go to the Savart Singi 4-hour runtime here. Look at that. It is going up here. This is a current vertical upward displacement, and we're at an elevated level. So I think things are really going to start kicking up here now very soon. So we'll be watching that more closely in the hours and days ahead. All right, space weather activity. Did see another almost X flare last night. Look at this, an M 8.2 or so. I believe it was an 8.2. That, makes, I don't know how many M flares now in the last couple days. We've definitely seen quite a few X flares in the last, I have to go back to the last 7 days to see how many X flares we've had. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 strong X flares and numerous, probably too numerous to count M flares. So as of right now, we're still somewhat elevated. It looks like we're starting to peak up here into the M flare category once again. The sunspot that is creating all this flaring, 3663, is just about ready to wander off onto the northwestern quadrant of the sun and will be out of sight, out of mind. That's been the source of these X flares and M flares recently. Now we do have a massive sunspot here that's getting quite close here in the polarities of this magnetic field, where it could start popping off X flares itself. That's going to be 3664. It does look like it's grown overnight. This was from last night. Look how much darker these colors are building back over here, indicating some intensifying complexity. So we're going to have to watch that pretty closely. That sunspot region there, 3664, looks like they did produce one M flare, but I bet you this thing kicks up a lot more. 3664, at least on this chart, doesn't show a whole lot of X flare probability, only 10%, but it has grown overnight. It definitely has grown overnight, so I think that should be updated. And we'll definitely keep an eye on it. It does harbor some potential for some strong flaring. Just looking at that magnetic structure here from last night to today, a lot darker here along this region. We've got to watch that. That is Earth facing right now, so we'll keep an eye on that. Overall threat, including the far side, or the 3663 up here that's off the northwestern quadrant, 50% chance for X flare. M flare at 90, C flare around 99% chance or so. No major roars in the forecast. The last one was pretty much a dud, at least according to what came in here. We didn't really see too much elevated activity. Let's see here. Kevin put this out today, it looks like. See here, he's even mentioning in the southern hemisphere showed rapid development during the past 12 hours and should be considered a threat for solar flares above the M5 threshold. So no doubt anything that does blast off of here will be Earth directed. All right, let's see what we got here for Storm Prediction Center. I'm going to cover the storm reports here from yesterday first. Look at this. Got, where'd they go? It's supposed to be a map right here. I was just looking at that. Not for sure why their map's not showing. That's a little odd. I wonder if it's because of the JavaScript here. I don't know. It looks like they may be doing some updating or something. But last time I checked, we had about 21 reports of tornadoes from yesterday. Here's the unfiltered reports. A little bit different looking, but I guess this will work. Definitely seen some stronger tornadoes go through areas up here. Seen quite a bit of damage photos, unfortunately, across the this area right here where there was a tornado. And you know, it was definitely a crazy day, and a lot of people were affected by some of the tornadoes yesterday. And you know, I don't know if there was any casualties or whatnot, but hopefully there wasn't. Today's Storm Prediction Center has that severe weather shifted well to the northeast of yesterday's event. There is a decent 10% hatched area for tornado probability out here across portions of Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana area, as you can see in the yellow dashed area. So heads up, stay weather aware. Anywhere, actually, if you're out in the 2% zone as well. That's the green area. Got to be weather aware. Wind and some large hail potential in there as well. After that, things a little bit broader out here. Still some severe weather as we head into the middle of the week. On well, this is for Wednesday. That's a pretty big area. Looks like even a larger 10% zone there. So this is definitely turning into some type of a long duration event. Maybe by day 3 that will scoot further out of here into Thursday, but we'll have to keep an eye on that. Either way, long-term models after we get through this week here, let's put this into motion. It does look like the severe weather is going to quiet down. I'm not seeing any massive low pressures coming down with the jet stream that would create the severe weather. Just general thunderstorm activity out there. Looks like maybe late next week we got maybe another setup here with that low pressure. We'll have to watch that. I mean, these guys are dealing with a lot. It is the springtime, and storms, you know, very common out here. Hopefully we can keep that severe weather to a minimum. Either way, it looks like it will remain active out here across the area. Let's check out precipitation accumulation out there. When I was out there in western Kansas, it looks like that area needs some rainfall pretty bad. Fairly dry out there. Does look like they're going to get a little bit here over the next 15 days or so. This is just general precipitation accumulation there by the GFS model. California, high and dry out here, typical. But we've had a decent winter. We've had a lot of rain. We've even had some decent rain here in May. A couple days ago, we had a decent amount come down. But looks like things are going to dry out, stay wet here across eastern areas east of the Rockies. And, you know, hopefully these areas that are dealing with some drought get some decent rainfall out there without the severe weather. Pretty calm out there across the seismograph stations here for now. And again, I'll try to get that pointer a little bit larger, because literally looking at it on my side, it's probably 10 times as big as this little one that you guys are seeing on the recording for some reason. I don't know why, but that's what it's like for some reason. I'll figure it out, see if I can't get that a little bit bigger so you guys can see where the arrow's pointing at and whatnot, because that can be, I'm sure, a little frustrating, but I appreciate the comment there letting me know about it. We'll catch you guys back out here a little bit later on this evening, folks. Got some school stuff to do and some outdoor work to take care of. We'll catch you guys back out here later. Stay safe.